That song
Welcome.
actually plays in my head while I shower. It's just like trim pools heat like
Dude, while you
a
shower, it's in my head all
yeah,
day. Dude,
all
it
day.
doesn't leave. It doesn't leave. Just like this headphone on my right side that keeps
That
disappearing.
keeps flickering in and out. Welcome back, man. Welcome back.
Another week. We did it.
Another week. How was your week? How was baseball's in the thick of it, right?
Dude,
You guys are in
baseball's in the
playoffs.
thick of it. This fella right here, Cal Raleigh, the big dumper. I'm pulling for the Seattle Mariners to win the World Series. My wife's from Seattle, and she's kind of. I mean, she's not a baseball fan. However,
Same.
like I don't know, I'm pulling for him, so I
Wait,
think
so
it's
like
fun.
I don't know anything about this man.
Mhm.
I know what he looks like. I think I've seen him on an interview. I'm gonna guess he plays first base
No,
because
he's
he looks like
actually
a big thickums.
so he's a catcher. And so this is actually
Oh,
this is a huge debate in the baseball community right now because the MVP in the American League, there's Aaron Judge who's batting over 300, which means he gets a hit, every third at bat, give or take.
yeah.
Cal Raleigh's batting around, I mean, somebody's probably going to correct me, but around 250, so less, but he has more home runs and he also catches every day. There's a lot more stats that go into it and everything, but folks are arguing back and forth. Should it be Aaron Judge? Should it be Cal Raleigh? I've been on the Judge train for a really long time, but the fact that Seattle is pushing further and further into the playoffs, like I don't know, it's
When
showing
does
a little
voting
bit more.
stop for those votes?
So I'll be honest, I don't know. I really don't know. Like
In
well,
the
when
in the NFL, I
it's
feel like it happens before the postseason begins or
it might
right
just be
after the
regular
wild
season.
card.
Yeah, it might just be regular season. I should know. I mean, I totally
Because
should
I've
know.
because
But
I've always wondered that too, like, hey, if we're only basing it on regular
yeah,
season,
I mean, still,
is
yeah,
that really
it
fair? Is
should
the
be
MVP's
right.
not even playing in the postseason? Like,
Exactly.
what are we talking
It's
about?
not fair, but, like, just saying, like, my opinion has changed, like, seeing how far that Seattle's going now and, like, the Yankees, like, everybody thinks of, like, the Yankees and the Dodgers as the 2 big superstar teams, so it's, like, the fact that Seattle, who's, like, a smaller market team, is doing so much better, and this guy's behind the plate every day and hitting over 60 home runs in a season. Pretty
Sound
pretty
like the
competitive argument.
OKC of the, baseball world.
Yeah, something like
It's a
that. That's
basketball reference, but I
so
don't know
so
basketball either.
here's something that I was thinking about today, and I talked about it at work and I talked about it during my stream. So let's look at baseball in this perspective. So right now you have the Dodgers and the Phillies, and then you have you sorry, not the Dodgers and the Phillies. Oh my gosh, the Dodgers and the
Dodgers are
Brewers,
okay.
and then you have the Blue Jays and the Mariners. So the thing is that everybody's debating is like, oh my gosh, like we want to see the Dodgers lose, but like in a way, people want Seattle to win to where two underdogs are going against each other. Me personally, I don't think it's a good idea for baseball as a whole because look at the NBA, like the finals. I don't watch the NBA until the finals personally, and from what I understand, it was two underdog teams, and the ratings were terrible.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, people want to see a giant fall.
You need the giant and the underdog is really what you need, yeah. You
Right.
need the team that kinda made it out and the team that should have and was supposed to be there, yeah.
Yeah.
Which in the situation you laid out with where it's broken down would be the Dodgers and maybe the Mariners, right?
Right, yeah, that's personally what I'm hoping for, and
And
I'm
a team
hoping the
from
Dodgers lose.
Canada, bro? A
Yeah,
team
from
from
dude,
Canada?
it's the World Series. The
I
entire
don't
world
get
is
it.
in on
Okay,
this.
the World Series. Jesus Louises. Oh my goodness. Okay, cool. I know you wanna talk about,
Yeah,
breaking and stuff. My little segment here will be a little bit shorter, and I know yours will be a lot longer. So, um, why don't we start with mine, and then we'll go into yours. That way we can spend all
let's
the
do
time we
it.
want on it. So I post in the if you're not in the Jet Breakers Facebook group, first of all, this is not an ad for these Facebook groups in
Shame on
particular,
you if
but
you're not in there.
shame on
I'm
you.
just kidding.
But here's the real stitch, right? Like whenever you're in the hobby, it's a cycle. Whether you're breaking, whether you're buying sealed wax, you have to have a way to offload those cards and sell them. People choose to sell them a myriad of different ways. eBay, people sell on Facebook and Instagram. One reason you would sell on Facebook and Instagram as opposed to eBay is because you don't have to pay any fees to the platform
But
itself.
but I prefer only getting 88 cents to my dollar when I
Oh,
sell
that's
stuff.
crazy because you get so much organic traction on your eBay account that you just created,
Yeah.
right? No, you have to work and build your eBay account to get to a point where
Yep.
you're going to get those views, and you have to do the same in these Facebook groups. So, in the Facebook group that I help be an admin in and a moderator in the NFL one, Trent does a lot of stuff in the MLB one. Um, I post every Friday a hobby education thread, just like, hey, put your put your stuff up here if you feel like it's something that you want to share with other people. So I grabbed some of my favorite ones from the last few weeks, and I'll share them
Let's hear 'em.
about them. So this is one from that post. Cards listed, and it's funny because I remember being an early collector and realizing this. Cards listed on eBay do not indicate the value of the card.
Yeah.
Check for the sale of the card. And
Yeah. Yeah.
like even in my live stream, sometimes like I can tell when someone is new to the hobby based on kind of how they talk about like value of cards, but hit something and then someone running and being like, dude, that's a $5,000 card. Where did you see that? Someone has it on eBay for $5,000 right now. That what someone listed that card at has zero to do with what the card is valued at all.
Yeah, it's the sold listing. So in case you don't know how to look it up, more than likely you're looking at eBay on your phone. If you're using the app, all right, I'm going full brain power right now. You're going to click filter, and then on the filter it's going to pop out a window on your right side. You want to scroll down until it says more. Click
See
more,
more.
scroll down to sold listing. So you can actually see just because somebody lists something for $5,000 and the last sold is $10, if the last sold is $10, unfortunately, your card is not worth 5 Gs. It's worth $10.
Also,
We've all been there. We have all
if
been
you're
there.
buying cards on eBay too, it goes the other way, right? Like I used to think this, like I would go search for a card that I was like, I want to see if I can find a Nico Collins XYZ.
Mhm.
Search Nico Collins XYZ. I find it. It's listed at $300. I'm like, I'm no research. Send an offer 220. Offer accepted. Dude, I got a steal. I just got that $80 under value without checking anything. And then multiple times I would go and look at the value, and it's a $180 card that someone had just listed arbitrarily at a higher
Mhm.
number. So if you don't do your research, you're going to get killed on the selling and on the buying side.
But there's always the but in this industry, which I hate. However, we gotta say it, dude. If it's a Nico Collins out of 10, if it's a Nico Collins out of 5, pull the trigger. Do it. Do it. Pull the trigger. It,
I did listen. I did
if you want something bad
before.
enough, man, I mean, like if you're not going to see it again, like is it worth the extra $50? Is it worth the extra $20? If it's a card you're never going to see again and the card you really want, probably.
Yeah. That's his good point to the next point. Hype isn't skill. Follow your own instincts. The market doesn't react based on what actually happens all the time. And to your point, like, yeah, if you're collecting something for the PC, pay what you want to pay for the card, but also like be smart about what you spend your
Mhm.
money on, because there may come a time and place where you feel like you can flip that card. And I had opportunities to move out of some of my Nico stuff at like 3x, 4x, even though I overpaid whenever I bought it. But I'm not going out and buying stuff at high dollar at the peak moment of the hype, right? Like
Mhm.
if you do that, you're going to get screwed 90% of the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's why so many people say with like Bowman prospects in baseball, the time to sell is between a month and a week after they get called up to the big leagues. Why? Because uh, arbitrary number, 85% of prospects will fail in
Yeah.
baseball. Even the ones who get called up to the big leagues, 85% will fail ish, whatever. Give me a random number. But I mean, like, it's a high percentage. So that's why, like, when the hype is real of like, hey, this person's making it, like, don't be afraid to just sell then because the odds are in your favor. But at the end of the day, if you have conviction in someone that you believe is going to be the next big thing, or just a player, you got to see them come up, you went to school with them, or you got to watch them in college, at the end of the day, you can make the smart decision to sell some of the stuff, but at least keep something.
Yeah, 100%. This other point here says read through checklist. Very easy to overlook value if you don't know what you're looking at. That goes both ways, right? Like if you're buying into breaks and you need to make sure that you're number one, not overpaying for a team, and at the same time, not and like here's a really good example. I was the perpetrator in this situation because I did do my work on the checklist.
Hmm.
Panini effed us on the checklist, but there was a
All right.
box that released
Classic.
last year, Obsidian International Football. It came out after True Obsidian did. It was at about half the cost, so it was like
Hmm.
$250 box at the time.
Was this?
On the checklist, huh?
No. I think I know where this is going. I'm not positive though.
On the checklist, they had Caleb, Jaden,
Yeah.
Drake, and Bo all signing, and inserted in different inserts as well, McCarthy and Penix as well. They dropped the product. The checklist is delayed a little bit. The checklist comes out. They're no longer on the like true checklist that they
Yeah.
released. And also JJ McCarthy and Michael Penix weren't in the boxes.
Yeah.
So
They
like
weren't
I
even
got a
in the
bunch. I
set.
was like, give me as much of that as I can get because it looks like it's going to be incredible. And before we had the real checklist, that was partially on me for like jumping the gun too
I
soon.
mean, like at the end of the day, I think that just I don't think there was enough attention on that when that happened because I feel like that's definitely that's like a pump and dump. That's the definition of a pump and dump. I think if it's coming from Panini that these guys are in here and then they're not, like
It is.
it
I
drives the price
also
up.
like there's a piece of me that says to myself, like, could you be so naive to have believed that with the knowledge that we all had and that I had of the licensing situation,
Mhm.
that knowing that they're not allowed to sign in Panini products, why would that one product have been any different? Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Now,
frustrated in myself for believing that. And it is on the onus is on the production, company to make sure that that checklist is correct. But I felt like I shared in some of the blame just by not being a smarter collector and knowing what we know about those licensing and
yeah.
using
At the
using
same
that
time though,
information.
didn't Tops like with CJ Stroud and stuff, like didn't he sign stuff that he wasn't supposed to and stuff? Isn't it?
I'm not sure with CJ, he's only in tops.
Well,
Uh,
maybe it was, like, too early or something, but it's, like, the same thing of, I feel like that was I mean, alright, I'm kind of backpedaling now because 'cause I'm thinking about it more. That was just an emotional
there was a
response,
story
but
about Drake May, and my inside knowledge comes from someone who works adjacent to Panini and is present at a lot of the athlete signings and a lot of the photo shoots for the cards
mhm,
that are made for Panini. If there's a picture of a player on the card, there's a chance that this person took that photo and was around, for any of that stuff happening. Drake May supposedly was under the impression that he was going to be able to be a Panini athlete. He learned from what I heard, and this story is coming from a secondhand source, right?
mhm,
He learned at a Panini signing event that he was going to be a Topps exclusive athlete and like had
mm.
to stop what he was doing and
Where
was
are
not
those
aware
autos? Where are
if
those
he was signing
autos?
somewhere. They're hiding out there somewhere. He was signing something, but got mad at his agent. There was a big issue with it. He did not want to be just a Topps exclusive athlete, but ended up being one anyway. So
Mm, and he's playing pretty well, if I'm not
he's
mistaken. He's
playing.
playing pretty darn
Rewind,
good.
dude. Rewind the tape. I'm gonna find the clip of the week whenever I think Coit was on, and he was like, "Who's your number one investment right now?" And I was like, "Drake May." And he was like, "Ah, man." And we're like, Since I've said that, dude, he has gone off.
Dude,
Go
you
for
put
it.
your money where your mouth is. Let me see that
You want to see
that
some Drake May?
gold auto. Let me see that
Dude, I
super
got a Drake
fracta.
May honeycomb. I got a Drake May
Ooh.
prism. I got him. I
Oh,
got him.
oh, so non-auto stuff, just Panini stuff, Tops all the way.
Non-auto.
Okay, I do have I actually
If I wanted to
since
go buy a $60 Drake May auto, I could. They're out.
in
Sure.
in the same vein of going back a couple episodes, I do wanna actually talk about something that is new this week, Tops basketball. They released the home court advantage. So, I wanna see your thoughts on the home court advantage and your thoughts on what you think that will do to a downtown market.
I think what's that? There's like I don't know if it's a proverb, but it's like the lion worries not about the opinions of sheep.
Oh my
That's what I feel
gosh.
like is going on there. What are the home court advantage? I saw them. They look the same as the baseball ones.
Yeah, they
I
look
also
similar,
saw a
yeah.
new case hit for them that was supposed to be Sonic Boom. That
Mm,
was that was just getting crapped on left, right, and center all over Twitter. And when I saw the actual card, it looked like an insert. Like it just looks like a standard insert. It doesn't look
yeah.
special. So dude, they're gonna have to dump. They have the money, dump hundreds of marketing and R&R into developing the case hit that's gonna be
I
the
I
next
don't
thing, but I
I
don't
don't
think
think they
it's home
have
field
to.
advantage.
I don't think they have to. I really don't. Because at the end of the day, they hold all the cards, literally and figuratively.
They will. Yeah.
But, I mean, I feel like over time, I think it's going to, 1, drive up the price of downtowns, while at the same time drive up the price of baseball home field advantages.
I thought there was a really similar situation with this whenever in 2023 there was a new case hit that came out of Mosaic, the micro Mosaic.
Mhm.
Uh with the way that the calendar releases, I believe we saw basketball first, and then we saw football. And I saw basketball, and it made me really excited to see when the football came out because it was a new hit. The next year going around, they added it to another product and they changed the design slightly. We weren't sure if they were going to get rid of it or if they were going to keep it,
Mhm.
but Panini changed it slightly. And they've changed it slightly every year, although it is in multiple products. I think they're it's still pretty highly sought after, even though it's only been around for 2 or 3 years. Same with the stained glass,
Yeah.
same with Kaboom, and some of those other case hits. Like if Panini can do that with 5 or 6 cards, like I know Downtown is what everyone talks about, but even Uptowns, like which was a throw-in case hit that still people really, really liked and got their attention. I'm curious to see, can Topps just come up with one that bridges that like $150 to $300 gap on a throw in on a retail box,
Yeah,
even,
'cause I
like,
mean,
you
the
know,
thing
that you can hit.
yeah, because like, for me, so the episode with Clever Cube, and we were chatting about case hits, and we talked about the Helix a little bit, and I feel like the Helix, have you pulled any of those or have you seen
Yeah.
them?
I
I
pulled a
feel like
Marvin Harrison Jr. one.
I feel like it's pretty comparable, like, in terms of a design to, like, a Color Blast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like at the end of the day, I mean, we have pretty similar things, so I'm very curious to see what the market reaction is to it. Downtowns and home field advantages, like, yes, at its core, it's the same thing. At its very base core. It's a case hit of a certain player with a design of the city. That's what
Yeah.
it is. And so I feel like it's gonna be really interesting to see how the market reacts to it. In reality, I think it's gonna drive up the downtown prices. I really do. Just I mean, obviously, there not gonna be any more. So
Think there will be more downtowns, they just won't have be licensed downtowns.
yeah, yeah, and I think those are gonna I think we're gonna see, but I
There
mean, at
are
the end
they've
of the
already gotten so lazy with them, it's like
I'll say this, clever Alex brought up a really good point. He said, "An Otani home field advantage is a $150 to $200 card." How much do you think an Otani downtown is worth? An unlicensed Otani downtown.
$1,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, unlicensed, but
Yeah.
still. Even just, like, the Panini boxes are, half the price. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting, so I'm very curious to see what the market reaction is going to be now that the tables are turned for basketball and football.
We still have a few months for football, but, in that vein, I don't know if you saw my post earlier today, but, like, Panini released their freaking release calendar,
Oh, it's every
and
day, brother. The printers are on nonstop.
but what I am so frustrated by is that, like, when I first got into the hobby, I was trying to understand in that year cycle, like this product
Mhm.
usually comes out around October. This product usually comes out around December. We don't get this product till after the season. Panini kind of like sticks to that somewhat, but they were delaying stuff by like 2 to 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
Whenever I think they were sharing the same printing press that Topps was sharing, and that became an issue. So Panini got a different company to print most of their cards
Mm.
now. But looking at like how they're gonna fit all of that stuff, I don't see a world where they would not delay 80% of that. But then why would they release an updated calendar with all that stuff
Yeah.
that's like 2 weeks away from now?
Yeah. And at the same time, it's a frustrating thing because I mean, just looking at that calendar, it's you don't even have time to enjoy a product.
No,
It's
no,
on
no,
to the
you
next,
don't.
next, next, next. And I feel like some of those products are going to absolutely tank on release.
Yep.
And in my personal opinion, just like from seeing market trends, I wouldn't be shocked if some of those products end up appreciating in value over time just because people just forgot that it existed
Yeah.
because it was the next thing was already released the next day or the
It's
next
gonna be
week.
really interesting because all the products that I saw slated are all top name products like Mosaic,
Mhm.
Prism, Absolute. So like last year they released Encore and they released photogenic. like 2 random SKUs. They have Revolution, I think, is
Mhm.
one that I've seen some holiday tins and stuff out there. So, like, are they diluting it further with more additional SKUs? Why is all the good stuff getting, and we usually get all this stuff around the same time, but, like, you know, what we usually got from March through July, if that's all getting pushed up, it's gonna be really interesting to see if people are
Yeah.
just dumping it all, and if we as, like, I'm curious to know if I'm gonna have to choose, to break Mosaic or Absolute because they drop within, like, a week and a half of each other, and
Mhm.
for us to get through a case of that stuff, because
Yeah,
it's
it's tough.
also crazy
Yeah,
expensive,
it's
like,
super expensive.
do you know, I'm curious, I'm gonna check right now what is Absolute, we'll see what's on dealer,
But I
what
will
their
say this
release cost is.
I will say this, I'm really excited for Topps Dynasty football and basketball. That is something that even me as somebody who does
It's
not
gonna be
collect those
pretty.
sports, oh my goodness. I have absolutely fallen in love with Topps Dynasty baseball. I will say this, that is probably if I could pick any product to rip ever, ever, it would be that. I
Is
have
it
never ripped a
what's the
box in my
most,
entire life.
really? Why? Is 'cause it's so expensive?
Oh, it's one card, it's $1,000, $1,000+. It's one card, one
What
encased
is the
patch auto usually.
comparable design scheme? It's like Origins,
National
right?
Treasures.
National Treasures?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
okay.
a one card,
NT
logo
and
man
1.
auto, logo man autos, like team logo
Well, like,
patch autos.
what's the ROI on those boxes? Like, do people hitting like
I mean,
a
I'll
$200 card? Is it like the Panini boxes we ripped at National, like the black boxes type stuff?
so
Better value than those?
better value.
Okay.
The draw is a patch auto. Like it's all patch autos,
Oh,
if I'm
okay,
not
okay, okay.
mistaken. So I mean, it's legit, and I think I could be wrong, but I think everything is numbered to 10 or less.
Wow,
So it's
dude,
very
what a
expensive,
guarantee. Yeah,
but the print run is really low. But I mean, like, it's phenomenal, dude.
that
I
sounds
love the
spicy.
cards.
Sounds spicy. I'm excited for it.
Do you find some
Okay.
numbers?
I did not know because they're not actually loaded up yet, but I think from what I saw for Panini Absolute, pre-order
It's gotta be something stupid, right?
pre-orders at 6.99 a
Well,
box.
at least look at the bright side. If you don't hit a kaboom, there's so many good options inside of Absolute. Like, you at least you could sell all those cards for 50 cents a piece, right?
No.
No?
Mosaic pre-order 550.
What? Mosaic? Dude, I
Dude, all of them. It's so impossible. Maybe this will be a
yeah.
good time to get into what you were talking about, but like it's impossible to like pass some of this on to my customers sometimes. It's just like
Yeah.
we're not going to touch that product until it
Yeah,
drops
and
down in value.
exactly, and the thing that I want to pass on to the viewers is kind of a segue into my topic of going full-time in the hobby, making the hobby your job, going from, "You know what? Hey, this is a fun little side gig," to, "You know what? Hey, I'm jumping in the water, I'm not just dipping my toes in anymore." And I thought it would be a really good opportunity to ask you these questions because you are somebody who made that jump. I am not. I still work a job and then I do this as like, a little part-time thing. So, Drake, what would you say has been the biggest challenge going from a part-time breaker with a job still to, "You know what? Hey, I'm doing this cards all the way."
Yeah, I think first of all, starting my own business, I didn't realize how much capital you have to be able to run as fast as you want with, even if your business is successful, like with Drakey Breaks. TikTok gave me a lot of followers really quickly, and like I quickly just like was having to buy as much product as I can get my hands on with like credit because I didn't have any cash available to me. I think my decision to go full time was a lot less about the security of, wanting to be full time in the hobby. And at the time, it was a lot about getting away from my 9 to 5 like
Mhm.
life, and I was loving what I was doing at a certain point, and then I took a couple of chances with some startups and was just like at a position where it was like, okay, I can either kind of go back in the trenches, or I can take this startup energy and like really focus all my time on something that I enjoy and can build for myself. my recommendation to anybody is always don't do that until you, and I know like you mentioning being on Alex's show, like he said that as well, right? It's not
Yeah.
something to throw yourself into, but if you can replicate to yourself that it is something that's sustainable and growable, then you can build on that. And so I had the luxury of being able to leave the job I was at and transition to doing Drakey Breaks full time. But even then, I think, wouldn't be in the position I'm in today to be full time with Drakey Breaks still, had I not been able to meet Jason and start the journey that we had in the partnership we built there. So
So
some
do
of
you
it is, go
yes,
ahead.
so do you think a partnership is the first stepping stone that people should take, or do you think going solo first is better?
I think for anybody, you have to have a way to, let's say, like, take the concept of like having and owning a business out of it, right? Like, are you making money?
Mhm.
Doing in the hobby? Like, are you able to make money? Are you able to make more money than you're spending? If the answer to that is yes, and you can think about that and you can think about scaling that and think, if I had more time to do more of this, I could see and project more money coming in this way. When you get to that point, for me, if you can build a projection for yourself, you should be doing that while you still have your full-time job, because
Yes.
more money to put aside for taking that step back as a nest egg for yourself or as security for yourself is really what would have made the transition for me a lot smoother. I've really jumped out of the frying pan and into the fire, which mean I was working my ass off nonstop around the clock. If
Mhm.
something failed and I wasn't making money one night, like, I was really worried about being able to pay my rent, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes in order to have the luxury of building the business, it's really difficult to do that without first building it, kind of underground in a way where it's got some roots and got some legs to it. And if you took that 20 hours a week that you're already putting into it up to 40 hours a week, that's when going full time, I think the difference between someone who's working part time and like making side money and someone who's doing this full time is knowing people and establishing those connections and being able to sustain yourself for full time work, if that's what you're doing as a breaker or as a seller of singles or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I think sustainment is the big thing. I think being able, like you said, scaling, just being repetitive, I feel like is a huge portion of it. Because at the end of the day, like there are going to be nights. I have nights. I have a really crappy day at work where just got a lot going on, busy, busy, busy. I still got to go live later and put on a face. Now, 99% of the time, that mood, like if I'm in a bad mood, it goes away within 10 seconds of me going live. But you gotta be able to do that. Like, you gotta be able to, like, even those nights you don't want to, like, do it, especially if you're full time. Because if you don't go live, you know, you don't pay rent. And I it's just it scares me when folks tell me like, "Oh, I wanna do this full time." And I ask, "Do what full time?" And they're like, "Sell cards." I'm like, "Do you have an audience?" And they're like, "What do you mean an audience?" I was like, "How many people do you sell to now?" And they're like, "Well, I've sold to, 50 people." And it's like, son, it ain't like that. It's
It's
because you
also
brought up you brought up a good point. I wanna ask you one question about something. Now you said you wanna make a plan, right? You wanna have this idea, this scalable, you know, w game plan effectively. How do you keep yourself realistic about that? Because it's very easy to say, "Oh, I'm gonna buy this case of Absolute at this much, and I'm gonna sell it for this much. Boom, go." How do you keep that idea, that game plan realistic?
I think part of it is like tracking your stuff. There's a lot of people I talk to that are like, I sell a ton, and even people that I know that sell quite a bit of cars that are not actually accurately tracking their profit and loss on any of their sales.
Mhm.
So what you realize really is that, like, most of the time when you feel like you've done a good job selling something, like, if you extrapolate that stuff over time, when you look at your actual business and you're like supplies, shipping equipment, like time, and everything starts to boil down, that's when you really see whether or not you're making money. And what I was going to say is, like, leaving the comfort of a 9 to 5, it's not just about sometimes paying rent. It's like, hey, I don't also now have, insurance or like any of the other benefits, paid
Mhm.
time off, like you said, of that a full-time employee gets. No one has that. It's not just because I'm a Jetbreaker employee or I'm a Drakey Breaks employee. When you're an independent contractor, you're an entrepreneur, like you sacrifice some of that stuff
Yep.
to be able to have the time and energy to do
The
the
freedom.
things and the freedom that you want to do in the time that you want to do it. But sticking to the plan is more about being realistic with yourself on understanding those numbers and knowing,
Mhm.
if I can extrapolate this stuff from 1 month and I were to able to do this over time. I ran into an issue pretty early on where my first 3 months on TikTok with Drakey Breaks, TikTok just pounded me with customers. And I was doing like, I was on pace for $250,000 in sales over the course of like those 3 months.
Now
So in my
now I
head,
want you to yeah, break that down, that 250K, that ain't 250K in your pocket.
no, hell no, dude. Hell no. That
But
was,
the thing is, people see that. People are like, "I sold a $500 card," and I'm like, "How much you buy it for?" They're like,
mm-mm.
"550." It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
"Brother."
That is one of the things that social media and that other creators I think use to lure people. Maybe they're doing it intentionally or not intentionally, but these guys, I'm not going to name names, but people that are on everyone's social feed that are moving the biggest football cards, one of one black of the biggest players, those cards are not being bought and paid for with cash usually.
Right,
That
that
stuff is moving on credit. Like
and look at it this way. Look, I'm a huge proponent of integrity, not only in the hobby, but in your day-to-day life. How many times do you think that that person who tells you, "Oh, I bought this Cal Raleigh rookie auto for $100. Let's go see if we can flip it." Like, do you think they paid 100? Like, maybe they did, but you can't guarantee it. You weren't there in person. They could always film a video of them. All right, I'm buying this card for $100. Here's the 100, and then the camera shuts off. It's like, all right, here's another 250 or whatever.
yeah, yeah.
Like what the
Everything you
card's
see is
actually worth.
manipulated on
Yeah, you
social
never
media.
know.
Yeah.
You never know. So don't let that social media aspect. Don't let those people, because those same people are the same people who will tell you, quit your 9 to 5, come do this. You'll make more money. At the end of the day, it's a sacrifice. You are sacrificing, like you said, that insurance, that PTO, that things like that. Yes, you can make money in this hobby, 100%. You just have to have that game plan, and you have to be realistic, and you have to be disciplined.
Ultimately, like financially, like to boil all of the, what you should or shouldn't spend money on, like how you should or shouldn't, maximize your profits. You have to have a substantial line of credit. And like, I'm going to say that again, you have to be a breaker in this business, specifically, even in the singles world, to climb up from, like, sure, you want to work your way up from trades and like go to $1 to $5 cards, $10 to 15 to 100 to $1,000 cards. When you get up to that 100,000, $200,000 card area, that is still not all profit, like you're saying, right?
Mhm.
You have to have the equity to be able to push up to those levels to get a higher margin
Yeah.
sometimes. But you cannot do any growth in this hobby if you don't have some amount of capital to start with,
Yeah.
and you cannot go full time and invest time and energy into it unless you have a line of credit that's big enough to sustain however fast your business grows. Because the problem that I had was like, hey, I have a bunch of customers coming in the door, I'm maxed out my credit card, like I can't buy more product,
Mhm.
and TikTok doesn't pay me for 2 weeks. So the timing of not of being a business, but I'm also just a guy, right? Who's like trying to time out when I'm buying things and paying my invoices and stuff and everything. Like, if I would have had 40K sitting on the side to be able to like kind of rotate in with what I was buying and purchasing, I would have been able to fly quickly. And so I think even if you're passionate, like it all boils down to money at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You can say you're in this business full time, but if you're not making enough money to sustain yourself full time, then you're really just pretending to be in the
Yes.
business full time.
Yeah, and it sucks because there are some really, really good people out there who just don't have the money to sustain it. This is an expensive freaking hobby. As you were talking about, if Absolute opens up as $700 a box, it's opening at that. Okay, cool. You didn't get it on release. All right, here we go. A week later, it's 850. Like,
Yeah. Even
oh,
then, you want to buy a single box, it's going to be, more than that at your local card shop, or like you have to have a relationship with someone to be able to
mhm.
get boxes from a random,
Oh, oh,
retailer or
oh,
vendor.
you bought 4 boxes at 850. Cool. Hey, I'm Panini. Here's 100,000 more
We just
cases.
released a new batch. Everything dropped to 600 now.
Yep,
Congrats.
now it's
Happened to
600.
me with Prism. Whenever I first was in the hobby, I bought a case from Jason. Uh, I bought a box, I think, a single box, and then I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and buy a case." And it was like 11K, and, like, I remember Zelling him the money and being like, "Alright, now I have to now I have to break this shit, like, and I gotta break it fast, and I gotta,
Yeah.
like, burn through it as quick as I can," and it took me a while to sell it because it's a tough product to
Mhm.
sell, and so then I had money tied up in boxes on the shelf that I was like, "Well, I wanna get back to running my normal breaks," but, like, couldn't quite make that transition, but I think to your point about, like, how do I know when it's time to make that transition? The real person who will be full time, like I did and like many others did, had to start that process while they worked somewhere else, like while
Yeah.
they had another job. It wasn't I woke up and was like, I'm now going to use all my time to do this, and I quit my job. It was I was spending my wife can tell people, like, I was spending all day long working. I would get off work, I would cook dinner for our family for an hour, and then I would break from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m., and then I would get up and do it all over again. Like,
Mhm.
I still do some version of that, but I wasn't working a full my I wasn't talking about restaurants and
Yeah.
point of sale
I
systems and
I
stuff
prep
like
my
that,
breaks
so
at 5 AM, dude, every day.
yeah, and because you're
Mhm.
doing that grind right now, right?
Yep.
It's an absolute
Been doing it
monster.
for 2 years now, so, yeah.
It's crazy, but you can judge the benefits and weigh the difference between what you would lose in leaving,
Mhm.
if you walked away, you can't really, right? Like, wake up tomorrow and be like, "See you later, my day
Yeah.
job," but,
Yeah.
to a certain extent, you have to weigh the value of what they bring, and I know for a lot of people, having both of those sources of income and the security of both, until you hit that lever with what the business you have, that for me, it was like the one I have control over is the one I can, like, now tweak up, and I can, like,
Yeah.
put the gas pedal on.
Mhm.
So that was when I kind of figured out, like, it's not a matter of whether or not I can do it, it's how much time I can put into it that will
Yeah.
immediately affect how much money I can make, and so that's when I made the switch, and I was also miserable at my day job and, like, absolutely just not having a good time. So, I had a
Yeah.
conversation with my wife, and I was like, "What do you think about me just running full speed ahead at this?" And she was like, "If you think you can, do it, then I believe in you." And I was like, "I'm quitting tomorrow. I'm
Yeah.
sending in my 2 week. Bye."
Yeah, it just I mean, me personally, I'm incredibly, like I'm a very I don't know. I go for the safe play very, very often. More often than not, I'm not a huge, huge risk taker, and for me, it scares me when people say that they're going full time because I know, even though I'm not full time, trust me, I know the challenges of it. I see it with you. I see it with every other. I'm the only breaker of ours who has another job, and I can see the stress. Like if you don't break, if you don't fill your break, like other things are gonna suffer around you. If I don't feel a break, I have more time with my wife and I can go watch Star Wars with her,
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things,
It
like,
it
it's a
changes the
balance.
weight of it for sure. I mean, like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. I was, having a lot more fun when I knew the money I was making from a break was expendable income.
Mhm.
When filling the break is, like, directly correlated to me, like, making the amount of money that I need to make to, like, pay my, not only my rent, but, like, my house note,
Yeah,
my
your
cell phone
bills,
bill,
yeah.
like, everything that comes with life, it changes. To your earlier point about, like, having a routine and having a schedule, that is the differentiator. That's where I've seen people fail, is saying, like, I'm gonna do this, full time. I'm gonna take this repack, and, like, I'm gonna take this break, and now I'm breaking two, and, like, I don't see them on every day. And I see them on one day and they have a terrible day, and I don't see them on the next day and they skip a day, and then they just kind of, like, fall off and fade away.
For discipline.
You have to, like, decide that, hey, I'm gonna show up every day, and believe me, dude, it is there's nothing more frustrating for me. I usually go live at like 7:30 or 8. Some days it's like 1 p.m. and I'm like, I have 3 or 4 hours to kill. I might go live and try and fill this break up early. I'll go live and not sell a single team and just waste 4 hours of my life. But some days I'll go live and I'll sell 3 or 4 teams, and then it's worth it for the time. So you got to shoot your shot, but you got to be able to put that time in to figure out what
Yeah.
works and what doesn't work. And being consistent with it is a big part of it, but also not letting the bad times get to you. Like, I've had some really crappy nights filling breaks. Like last night, dude. Last night we had a break. We could not sell the Titans, the Browns, and the Jaguars, who are the three chase teams out of this year's product. Cam Ward, Shador, Dylan Gabriel, Quinshon Judkins, and Travis Hunter. So like, but it's midnight. Like we had to rip the boxes and like we put them on flash sale for 30%, and like no one bought them. So it's just like, okay, we'll just go down and like I think we made like $10. Jetbreakers made $10. So it was just
Yeah.
like kind of a wash of a night, but like get up and do it again the next day, right?
Mhm.
You just gotta kind of put a happy face on. Someone left a review. Shout out to Marquise on the TikTok channel. And it goes to your point, and I'm not rambling, but to say like we have to show up and be in a certain mood and like be the person no matter how our day's
Yeah.
going that can be that guy on camera. Marquise was like, shout out to Drake. He's always in a great mood, no matter when I'm
Yeah.
stopping in. And some nights I don't feel like I'm in a good mood. I try to be, but like
Mhm.
it's a requirement, I think, of that person who's
Yes.
leading the room to like bring that energy.
100%. Yeah, because I mean, anytime, like even if I'm just like scrolling whatnot, just bored, you know, like if I hear a dude who's just like complaining and whining and complaining and whining, like the breaker, it's like, no, dude, like I'm here for fun. Like I want entertainment. Like that's what I'm here for. Like
Yeah.
don't like I'm not in the best mood. Hype me up, dude. Come on. Like
Yeah. I want you to give me a reason to be there, not
yeah.
the other way around. Like being dependent on the crowd to bring the energy. But all that being said, like to I guess for the sake of answering your question with a concrete answer, like making that transition from part-time to full-time, that's a like you got to assess your situation, and if you can handle the stress of throwing yourself into the fire, it's not the best way to do it. But if you're someone who can show up and get your shit done every day and like work, you can figure it out. There's a million ways to sell stuff. Like that's
Mhm.
I told my wife, I was like, listen, I've been in sales for the last 8 years. I could sell I can sell a lot of things. What I want to be selling is sports cards. And I think people can see that when I'm selling to them that I really enjoy what I do. And it's why I only do football.
Mhm.
But if you can figure out how to sell something, Facebook, TikTok, whatever, eBay, like any like whatnot, like
Yeah.
get on there and figure out how to sell something.
Dude,
You can literally go
I
out
would
and
like
that's what the safety net is, right? Is like I can go live at any time and make money if I
oh,
need to.
you're only football? Could not be me. Could not be me. Oh, is that Disney? Is that
Disney.
SpongeBob? Oh,
Disney. Are
well,
those
all
hobby
right.
boxes?
They are. I will say this though, I didn't sell them. My better half sold them this weekend. Ashley, yeah,
What?
my wife went live for the first
You
time
got
ever.
her in the mines, dog?
Yeah, so I mean, so to be fair, she's down here pretty often, and she's a big help for me sorting and shipping every week. I sort everything into a division for her, so she has chunks of 5 teams, and she'll package it up for me and everything. But I was like, "Hey, have you ever like I mean, there's sometimes where like, dude, I gotta pee right now. I'm like texting
Yeah.
her, I'm like, please. And so she'll come down and she'll rip a few packs of baseball. She's like, oh, this is pretty cool. And I'm like, well, hey, why don't we get something that you enjoy? And I was like, oh my gosh, Disney. She's like, I love Disney. And I was like, Star Wars. She's like, I love Star Wars. I was like, SpongeBob. She's like, I need it. And I was like, all right, hit up, you know who, big old boss man, Jason. I said, Jason, get me some megas and get me some blasters. What does he send me? He sends me 3 cases of hobby boxes.
Oh my god.
I'm like, all right, well, we're doing it.
Godspeed.
Yeah, but
Godspeed. That'll be fun.
yeah.
Love what you rip. At
I mean, we
the end
hit
of the
we hit a
day.
Lightning McQueen to 10. Dude, wait,
Wow.
wait, wait. All right, you know what? Hey,
Wow.
pop quiz time. Drake, what do you think a Lightning McQueen to 10 sells for?
Mm,
2025 Topps Chrome Disney.
385.
No, 500. Next, Moana gold autograph to 50. Pulled that out of a mega box. How much do you think that sells for?
685.
Close. I think it was like 600. Yeah, dude, out of a mega box. I'm telling you, this Disney stuff, it's
Spicy.
sneaky
I
value.
saw some today
It's
in
actually
Target.
sneaky value. I was
$60 a box though?
yeah, it's pricey. I mean, shoot, come over to Jetbreakers. We'll sell it to you cheaper than Target. Whatever.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's the thing. Like, dude, that's something that's another thing. I know we're going a bit long, but I do want to address this too. The fact that when you are
The
solo,
allegations.
yeah, I'm addressing the allegations. No,
Not
dude,
the damn
it's one of those things.
allegations.
Like when you get to a certain level, when you get to that certain rapport, like you said, you mentioned this very early, that network that you build, that network is your baseline, dude. I'm telling you, in this hobby, because you'll get to the point where, Drake, if I told you, hey, absolute 700 box, I'll sell you a case at 500 a box because you've bought from me time and time and time again. I need to dump this. You would say yes in a heartbeat. You know who else would say yes in a heartbeat? Every breaker across the country. But they come to you. Why? Because they know you, you're reliable, you're trustworthy, you're dependable. Build that network early and often because, dude, I'm telling you, like, that's why a lot of these boxes that we sell, Jason has made these relationships over the years. We are able to sell these boxes at cheaper than retail sometimes just because it's like, hey, like, we got them cheaper. We're going to sell them to you cheaper. That's the way it works.
Yeah. I think also paying attention to, like, if you're really serious about being in the hobby and you want to be in the hobby full time, like, pay attention to the ecosystem, because there's wax, there's distribution, there's wholesale, right? And then there's those wholesale relationships. And then there's also repackers who exist in this like singles market. Aside from all of this stuff, there
Mhm.
are people that only buy cards and sell to repack. They don't even do anything else. They literally make
Yep.
a living just at card shows, buying cards from people and selling those cards to someone else who repacks them. So if you pay attention to the whole ecosystem, you can find ways where if one of the levers that you're working on goes down, right, you could insert yourself in another area where there's somewhere to make money.
Mhm.
For me, I knew, like, looking at the wholesale market, if I ever had to transition to doing like a daily stock trade style portfolio with the wax, that would be where I would immediately put my focus and attention on, because
Mhm.
that's where my strengths would be with
Yep.
regards to like monetizing it. But
Yeah.
you don't know that some of that stuff is out there unless you're looking at it and figuring out, hey, at card shows,
Dude, and that's
knowing
me.
the same
Singles.
dealer,
Dude, that's me.
selling the same
Singles.
people. Yep, buying and selling to the same people. That's how you build those relationships that lead you to other revenue opportunities. Like, I spent probably $25,000 with Jason before it ever came up to me that he had a breaking cup. Like, he
Yeah.
was always a seller to me. He was always like a
Mhm.
wholesaler guy. He was like, yeah, I have these other breakers who are working. And I was like, "Bro, what are we talking about?" Right.
Yeah.
But it took long enough for us to get there because we had a relationship built on something else. So
But I will say this, if you would go into that wax distribution, why do you jump into that? Because you know it, right?
yeah, yeah,
You have a good understanding. How? How do you have a good understanding of it? You've been doing it and you've taken the L's. You've probably taken so many L's. And you know what? Because you had that bankroll ready, you were able to sustain it. Going back to your original point, you
yeah.
need capital. D- Dude, I'm telling you, y- losing your tail on a $700 box is nothing. That
Lose your
$700
lose your tail on
box,
a case of $700
you lose your tail
boxes.
on a case of that, that could if that can end your dream, your hopes and dreams of going full time, this is not for you. Like, it's
Yeah.
the honest truth because
Also, if
this
you
stuff
can't,
can go crazy.
someone told me once, and I've heard this a few times. I don't know if people have made this comment to you, but I could never be a breaker because I would always rip my own wax.
Mhm.
Like, as someone who breaks and opens hundreds of boxes, I don't really have a desire to open those box. Like, I don't know if you feel this way, but like, that's a foreign concept to me. I don't look at a box. I'm like, sure, I want to know what's inside, but then we should break it. And I don't feel
Dude,
like
I
you
love
got
it.
the itch.
Dude, well, so for me, it's actually kind of hilarious. I get the itch now for other products. Dude, I tell you what, I have stopped myself so many times of buying Topps Chrome Football. Topps Chrome Football, just because, like, oh, I know Topps. Do you know how many, dude, I have ripped Topps Chrome UFC hobby boxes, Topps Finest UFC hobby boxes. Why? Because I love UFC. I Dude, I don't care.
Fair.
It's fun. It's cheaper than baseball. It's fun to me. I have sold 5 to 10 of the cards from the hobby box. The rest, I think they're cool. I'm keeping them. Like, I still have the itch to rip. I'll be honest, I love still buying into breaks. I do. I
Yeah.
bought into a break this week because, like, it's fun. For me, breaking provides more value than buying a hobby box and ripping it. More often than
Yeah.
not, it's cheaper. I can get what I want. You know, for me, it's not really about the gamble anymore. Like, yes, it's if I want to gamble with sports cards, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy a repack. That's where I'm at. If I want to gamble, if I want to get cards for my PC, I'm going on eBay and or if it's a brand new release, I'm jumping in a break because it's fun. Have fun
Yeah.
with this, man. Like, it's a freaking hobby.
Definitely have fun with it. I think the point I'm making more so to the tune of, like, as a business owner,
Yeah, sorry,
you
I got
see
distracted.
that. No, because everything you're saying is true, because
Yeah.
I believe in all of that. What changed for me was when before Jetbreakers, when I was
Mhm.
on my own, when I looked at that $700 box, and it could be worth 900 to me if I sold it.
Yeah.
But if I open it, I'm negative 700.
Yeah,
Like,
you're
the
well, no. No, what if you hit that one of one
no,
downtown in the
presumptively, right,
No,
if you're
dude,
gonna
that's
lose in the
yeah.
box.
Yeah, you're
But
gonna get
that's what I
hosed.
mean more so to say, like, looking at wax changed a lot for me whenever I adapted that full-time mindset of a
Mhm,
seller, because everything I touched wax-wise was something that could have been sold for a profit, and when everything you do is centered around making money to stay alive, you almost, like, can't afford to think about wax. I couldn't afford to think about wax as anything, and I ripped 1 or 2, like, when something new would come out, I'd rip some retail here and there, but,
yeah,
like, a hobby box, $400 that
can't do it.
would, yeah, it wouldn't make
That's
sense.
your like, 2 of those, that's your phone bill,
It
you
almost,
know?
like, ruined my ability to look at wax, because I'm like, not only is it just the cost of the wax, but I'm losing what I was projecting to have made off of selling the wax in
Mhm,
addition to the wax, right? So it's like you're kinda losing double of the value of what you have if you rip it and you're trying to sell it at
yeah.
some point as well.
Well, all of that to say, if you're gonna go full time, have a plan, have a realistic plan, be disciplined, be able to stick to a plan, because if you can't and you don't have that capital backing you, it's gonna be a bumpy ride, and more than likely it's not going to succeed. If you're going full time, I tell you what, I wish you the best of luck. If you ever have questions, you can reach out to me. Although I'm not full time, I can still give you insight.
You're pretty much full-time.
I've
You're pretty much working
effectively
2 full-time jobs.
yeah, I mean, I break every single day and sort and ship and yeah, it's fun. But I will say this, like, I'm assuming you're also willing to answer questions and stuff to
Yeah,
help
yeah,
people.
please.
Like, at the end of the
I get
day,
questions
like,
all the time from people,
we
dude. I'm like,
yeah,
"Answer." Yeah.
yeah, we are here to help. Like, at the end of like, dude, this whole mindset of, "Yeah, but if you help somebody else, you're gonna be taking away a future customer of yours, or they're gonna take your customers." Dude, I went to the National, and I was shoulder to shoulder trying to look in a showcase 1,000 feet away from the entrance. Okay. There are plenty of people in this hobby. There is enough for everybody to have fun and make money and enjoy themselves.
Plenty of room for everybody to be a part of it all.
Yes.
Awesome, dude. Thanks for hanging out tonight. What a blast it has been.
Another good
Yet
evening with you.
another phenomenal show. Kudos. I will say really quickly, I guess this is a cool as a resource, right? If you do want to sell more, pivot back to the comment on the Facebook groups that we run for NFL, MLB, NBA. There are people selling cards in there all the time. Make sure before you try to sell something in the baseball group that you double check the rules and make sure that your post is appropriate with the current rules of how to sell cards in that group. I also know this, like TikTok, there's a threshold of followers you have to be able to go live. But once you pass that threshold, there are some resources. TikTok has like lines of credit. They have all sorts of different financial resources to assist sellers. Whatnot also will prioritize your account in the first 60 days if you are a new seller. They'll also do a reduced commission a lot of times for the first 60 days if you're a new seller and can get in touch with their account management program. So if you're going to jump or you want to start selling more, right? Like use the resources around you, reach out if you have questions about those platforms on how to get on them, or if you have questions on specifically the back end, how to use them, how to maximize your time for Facebook, Trent's your guy, TikTok and whatnot. I'll be your dude. Thanks everybody. Have a wonderful week. Thanks for listening to Hobby
See you
Hangar.
next week, everybody.
Bye.
Drake breaks football like a runaway train. AJ Brown autos falling like rain. They